Okay, I get the pleasure of introducing two of the most amazing women I have ever met in my entire life. Definitely saved the best for last today. I will never forget the day I first met Katie. It was at, we were still back in, in the old conference center, and her dad had just been diagnosed, and she came to the foundation and was just searching for answers. And I just wanted to take her in and mother her so bad. And yeah, from that day on, I have been stuck like glue. But I wanted to start care teams a few years back and really spread awareness and research and advocacy about cholangiocarcinoma and educate people. And I had several people in mind that I thought would just be so amazing at doing this job, and I knew they would be proactive, and Katie was one of them. And she said, "Man, do I have the perfect person for you," and she introduced me to Cindi. And from that day forward, they have been powerhouses in caregiving. I'm not going to share their story because they've got a better story to share, but I'm telling you, these two are so amazing, and I'm so happy and blessed and grateful to be their friend and to have known them. I hate the way that we have had to meet, but I am so grateful. Welcome, Katie, Glenn, and Cindi Mrotek.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Melinda, that was the warmest introduction I think I'll ever receive in my life. So thank you, Melinda, for the introduction, and thank you to the foundation for having us share our story of good grief. If we can learn how to click this, it would be...
Green light.
Oh.
Is that it?
Yeah, but our notes are gone.
Can you go move this?
What?
I pressed the green button.
This is just the story of our life. This is the way it goes.
We pressed it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there.
Press it a little harder.
But our notes are gone.
But our notes are gone.
Uh-oh.
Can you?
There we go. They're
There
coming.
we go. Click on it. Yeah. Wait, go back. Okay, good.
Good?
That's it.
Yes. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's start this again. Okay. Thank you, Melinda, and thank you to the foundation for having us. That was a great introduction. We have no disclosures or conflicts of interest. We're just teachers from the south side of Chicago, so what do we really know? But seriously, our objectives include, we hope that you find a meaningful connection with someone who can support you through it all. We hope you engage in a movement for awareness, research, and education for cholangiocarcinoma. And we hope that you empower the community, those affected, and others to make an impactful change. My name is Cindi Mrotek, and I am the daughter of Barb Doherty.
And my name is Katie Glenn, and I am the daughter of David Glenn. We are both caregivers, advocates, and mentors, and ambassadors for cholangiocarcinoma.
I live in Lamont, Illinois.
And I live in Orland Park, Illinois. We live only 15 minutes from each other. Both of our dads' names are Dave. Cindi has a son named David, and I have a nephew named David. Both of us are in the education field, and we both worked at local schools. Both of our parents have the same diagnosis of stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma.
Fate took its hands and brought us together to support each other through diagnosis, treatment, and grief. Today, we present in memory and in honor of our parents, Barb Doherty and David Glenn. They are the reasons we are here. They brought us together in a world at the time we didn't want to be in or thought we belonged in. We are here to share their stories and share it and live as they lived it.
Neither of our parents wanted to be remembered for this disease because they were so much more. Us, along with our families, have so many beautiful memories of who they really are.
My mom was the light when she walked in the room. Everybody wanted to be around her because of her perspective and brutal honesty. She had a large nail polish collection, a large lipstick collection. The UPS driver knew me and my dad and her by name because of her shopping addiction online. And most of all, she was an avid Disney fan. Most importantly, she fiercely loved her family and was a protector. Her children and grandchildren were the center of her universe. She worked a part-time job, a small amount of hours a week to spoil us, but mainly to get away from my dad.
My dad is a father, brother, uncle, friend, lover of sports, especially golf and all Chicago sports teams. He was a businessman, a musician, and my best buddy. He wrote songs and he was in a band. He had a love for learning. He was always reading or listening to an audiobook or completing a puzzle. He loved talking to people and learning about them, and there was no one more excited than him to eventually become a grandfather. His sense of humor was contagious. He loved his family more than anything, especially his girls, my mom, my sister, and me.
They existed and they died for a purpose. They did not know it was their purpose, but we have made it ours, and we will continue to tell their stories and to make it better for the next daughter that has to go through this. It was an unknown world. An earthquake had just hit. I didn't know how to pronounce the cancer, yet alone accept it. I won't forget receiving the diagnosis on January 8th from a cold physician assistant whose name was Deb. She came in the room and my mom asked, "Is it cancer?" And she said, "Yes, you have cholangiocarcinoma." And my mom didn't know any different, so she said, "Is it like pancreatic cancer?" And she said, "No, it's worse. You have cholangiocarcinoma. You maybe have 6 months to live." So she left the room. We had more questions than we had answers. So I like to consider myself to be a resourceful person, and I needed to do something. I needed answers. So I reached out I went to the foundation's website in 2016, and through the CCF discussion group, they connected me with a local girl named Katie Glenn. She was a stranger who at the time I didn't know would turn into my person. This was the first email I ever sent to Katie on February 16th, 2016. And this is how our connection began. I didn't know Katie, and I just hoped she would respond, and now we are attached.
What I call the bomb in our lives had already gone off, similarly to Cindy's earthquake. Sitting in a perfectly sound building, a hospital with 4 solid walls surrounding us, it felt like they had all collapsed and it took the air out of me, hearing the diagnosis of cholangiocarcinoma from my dad. As the cold, matter-of-fact doctor told us his diagnosis, and then my dad questioned his prognosis, she said, "You have a year maybe with chemo, 6 months without." We knew this was really bad. And without hesitation, I looked at my dad as I drove him home from that hospital visit, and something went off in me like it never had before. And I told him, "We are going to fight this." Within 2 weeks, we got 4 opinions, found CCF, attended the first ever foundation conference that had patients and caregivers attend, and this was the man who gave me life. So this was the least that I could do, was try to save his. Lisa Crane called me one day, and I was in my car going into the hospital that my dad was admitted in. And she said, "There's a local girl you should connect with." She eased my reservations about talking to someone, because we had already been told from a doctor in that very hospital that my dad was in and I was sitting in front of, that no one wants to talk about this disease. When Cindi reached out via email, I responded with the words that you see on this screen.
Katie encouraged me to seek out second opinions and advocate and ask questions. Find doctors with an A, B, and C plan. A complicated disease deserves knowledgeable doctors who understands the latest treatments. So this is our story. This is the first picture, but the second time we had met. The first time we met, my husband, Tim, joked and said, "Meet her in a public place." We don't know her, and if she asks for money, don't write her a check. We were convinced that we were getting catfished. She didn't ask me for money, but she did give me a CCF bracelet. Through this common trauma, proximity, passion, and advocacy, we became a compass for each other through a scary and unknown territory and time. We were a navigation system, a shoulder to cry on, a much-needed laugh, daughters who just wanted to save their parents. We were each other's hope.
The birth of the care team. Both of our parents passed in 2016, just a few months apart. My dad in May, only 4 months after his diagnosis, and he missed the births of his first 2 grandchildren by 1 month. He only received 2 rounds of chemotherapy because of stents, cholangitis, and other complications.
My mom died Christmas morning, 2016, after 11 months. In total, in those 11 months, we had around 42 nights in the hospital due to chemo and cancer complications, a failed attempt at a liver resection, a failed clinical trial, a feeding tube, and numerous stent replacements.
In 2017, I got a call from Melinda Bikini, and she said, I want to form this group. Could be all women. Right now, that's who I'm thinking, and where we would do great things. I said, I'm nervous. I don't know what I could bring to the table. I didn't feel knowledgeable or confident enough. After all, my dad had passed away. I felt like I wasn't able to save him, and how could I possibly give others hope? I wouldn't have ever become a research advocate, a mentor, or a care team member without Melinda having asked me. She made me believe in myself that this teacher from a Chicago suburb can make a difference. After a bit of convincing on Melinda's part, then my response was, of course, yes, and I was honored. I said, on one condition, you have to get this girl Cindi on the team too. She said she would, and she did, and then Cindi became our resident stalker. And she has been for this time, mostly because she doesn't accept no for an answer. So the care team was officially formed, and it didn't have a name. So we brainstormed, and we thought of what we wanted it to mean, what we wanted to have out of it. And the acronym CARE came to mind because we were a group that cares so deeply about change, and that can be accomplished through cholangiocarcinoma, awareness, research, and education.
Katie, Lauren Rosati, and myself are bereaved caregivers to our parents. Judith McBrien is a bereaved caregiver for her son, Austin. Kate Telak, Melinda Bikini, and Lisa Crane are patients. We all believed in each other. We couldn't do this without the other person believing in the other. We all have strengths and brought them to the table.
For those of you who don't know Melinda, you should, and I'm sure after today you all do now. She is a powerhouse, a visionary. From the day I met her, I fangirled her. I ran up to her at that first conference I attended right after she presented, and I said, I know you. I read an article about you in the Washington Post. She was our first ray of hope. Lisa Crane, the kindest, gentlest person you will ever meet with the biggest heart.
And Kate. We miss Kate, and we had a hard time finding our way after her passing. The people in these pictures started the care team. We believed in a better future for CC, for the caregivers. We believed in hope. We were clear in our mission and values. When you know better, you do better. And together we had a vision, we implemented it, and we have only expanded it to this day. And these are some of the accomplishments we have done together.
Team CCF. Shortly after my dad's passing, I was thinking, how can I get involved? What can I do to make a difference in this disease? I knew I had to give back, and I had to do something with all the knowledge that I had. I compare cholangio to if a robber came into my house and murdered my dad. I would find who did it. Well, in this case, we know what did it, cholangiocarcinoma. And although it might be a little bit more complicated, we won't stop until we find a cure. And we must all believe that, because that is why we are in this room together today. I knew cholangio needed to be taken down from multiple angles, that it needed awareness and it needed fundraising for research, and that I couldn't do it alone, that I needed a team. Months before my dad's diagnosis, I had ran 5 marathons that year. With the last one, I ran for the American Cancer Society in honor of my mom and my sister, who are both breast cancer survivors. I saw the impact, so why not start a team? There's strength in numbers, and there had to be others out there that also wanted to make a difference. And there were 9 others that year that wanted to make that difference. There was a Team CCF before me, and their monies that were raised matter. Every race that they ran and their purpose for entering those races matters. So what did I do? I made Team CCF a team. I had a vision of one team, one mission. We would raise funds for research, and most importantly, we could raise awareness, run in green, support each other, connect, share stories, all on the biggest stage of running, the Chicago Marathon, a course I knew like the back of my hand because I had ran it several times before. To get through that marathon, to cross that finish line in green with a sunflower, green ribbon, and a 26.2 charm on my shoe, I felt my dad's presence more than ever. He was my biggest supporter for every race I ever ran. For one race, he hit every single runner's hand as they crossed the finish line. He called me at 5 a.m. in the morning just to track me at an out-of-state marathon. And for Team CCF Chicago 2017, he was there in my heart every step of the way, making sure we got through it. And he placed my love Bob by my side every single step for his first marathon. I always knew what Team CCF could be. And every runner that signs up, every dollar that is raised, every connection that is made far surpasses the impact that I ever thought we could make. We are known in world majors, small races, individual races, and group challenges throughout the entire world. At last year's Chicago Marathon, a runner came up and gave me a sweaty hug. I have no clue who this man was, and he said, "Thank you. My mom just passed away from cholangio. This is a great cause." And he kept running. I hope that man finds our team for this next marathon. Our first team marathon in Chicago, we raised $20,000. And now with a larger presence, not only in running, but fitness events across the country, Team CCF has raised over $1 million. This past year, the Team CCF New York Marathon was the largest fundraising group yet, as they have raised over $115,000.
We're missing a slide somewhere.
No, they have to go down. Whoever's scrolling should
Yeah.
go down. There they go. There. As Team CF.
As Team CCF began to grow, we needed a coordinator on staff. And we gained Meredith McGuffage, who is a dear personal friend of mine and assisted in
The scroller needs to scroll.
the
Who assisted in next? Just go with it.
Okay. As Team CCF began to grow, we needed a coordinator on staff, and we gained Meredith McGuffage, who's a dear personal friend and insisted in Team CCF across the country to help support runners. Thank you, Meredith, for continuing to grow Team CCF every mile by mile. At the first Chicago Marathon, I asked a news reporter how cholangio could gain more traction and be featured at the media level. They told me we need to be visual. We need people to see us. That began the birth of a new movement, Light It Up Green.
You just clicked it. Go back. Okay, go. After I told you.
After I was told to be visible, I thought, go big or go home. And that's exactly what we did. I said, why not light the Chicago skyline green? So with my stalking capabilities and not being able to accept the word no, I found the right people to say yes. Starting with just 2 buildings in Chicago, the Prudential Building and the Wrigley Building in 2019, we turned an idea into a worldwide event. Green represents hope, research, a cure, and that's exactly what we want people to think of when they see green.
We took our 2 buildings in Chicago and grew it across the skyline. This year, we had Soldier Field, the Willis Tower, that us Chicagoans will always call the Sears Tower, the Navy Pier Centennial Wheel, and the Blue Cross Blue Shield building, which illuminates the words World CCA Day.
In case you haven't caught on by now, Katie and I complement each other so well because we take each other's ideas and continue to add on to them. We supported each other as caregivers, and we support each other in our movements.
What started off as something very small has grown into something worldwide. And with the support of the foundation, they rolled it out on an even bigger level. This idea led to other volunteers lighting it green, and because of all of us together, there are now buildings, landmarks, and monuments throughout the entire world lighting it green for Cholangiocarcinoma Awareness Day. Lighting major cities green was not an easy task, and CCF found the need for proclamations at the state level. To date, I think they have almost every single state declaring the 3rd Thursday in February as World Cholangiocarcinoma Day. The Light It Up Green campaign continues to reach new places each year. Here are some of the highlights of how volunteers have lit up their cities.
As part of the CARE team's mission of education, we've been dedicated to bringing education to the regional areas for patients who are unable to travel. We're proud to say that we've developed the first ever regional symposium in Chicago, which is still in existence today. We'd like to extend a special thank you to Dr. John Fung and the University of Chicago Medicine for bringing in top researchers and doctors to local patients. Thank you to their support, we've been able to expand these symposiums throughout the country, including St. Louis, Cleveland, Arizona, and Washington. We're excited to continue our mission of providing quality education to those who need it the most. And he's not here today, but we have to recognize Dr. John Fung. So where would we be without Dr. John Fung? He's the king of compassion, the captain of our cheer team for finding a cure for this disease. Thank you for what you do for our community of caregivers, grievers, and patients. The CARE team would not be successful as it is today without you, Dr. Fung, and also Lisa Crane's hero.
So how we met Dr. Fung. He met 2 girls on World CCA Day back in 2017, shortly after he moved from Cleveland to Chicago. We only knew him through Lisa Crane. He wanted to wear a green tie. As you can see in that picture, he's not, because he hadn't even moved all of his stuff from Cleveland to Chicago yet. His words will last with us forever that he told us that first night we met. They were, "I wish I was here when your parents were alive. I wish I could have done more." To hear that bonded us forever. An incredible man of love, knowledge, and compassion for the people that he had only just met that night.
We now know his family and his wife Beth, who are so gracious to us all. We love you, Dr. Fung, and we will be your forever Fung fans. And we just wanted to say thank you to a few people. We have to take time to say thank you to the providers who helped us navigate this time. I'd like to personally thank my mom's primary oncologist, Dr. Sunil Nirula, out of the University of Chicago. He was our first provider of hope. He still remains a point of contact and friend, and he gave me 2 pieces of advice that stay with me to this day. The first piece was, sometimes you can't take things day by day, you have to take things minute by minute. And this is the way it is right now. It doesn't have to stay this way. The second piece of advice he gave me was, your life will forever be changed by cancer. Even if she goes into remission, has a resection, your life is never going to be the same. And he was right. Thank you, Dr. Nirula, for your patience, most of the time toleration of me and my family, and most importantly, care.
I would like to thank Dr. Gores from the Mayo Clinic, Rochester. He is the one who told me to come to the Cholangiocarcinoma conference on our first meeting. He was the first person to give us hope in this disease back in 2016 when there wasn't that much of it. And he put up with all my phone calls, questions, and every complication that my dad went through. My dad called him his person. He probably regretted giving me his cell number, though. Dr. G, thank you, because I would not be involved in CCF today if it wasn't for you.
Thank you to my dad. He's not here today, although he should be, for carting us around the city of Chicago during the Chicago marathons and giving us humor when we all needed it the most. And you taught me that it was honorable to be a caregiver. Thanks to my sister Denise, my brother Dan, we all dealt with cholangiocarcinoma in different ways, but we supported and loved Mom. Thanks to Tim and my kids, Tori and David, who accept, support, and understand the value and importance of my personal mission of making this disease less painful for the next.
Thank you to my husband, Bob, for allowing me to dedicate so much time for something that is so near and dear to my heart. You have been with me from the beginning of it, from helping me design shirts to running a marathon alongside me. Thank you for taking care of our Tenley Ray so I can play my part in a cure. And you even bring her to all of our supportive events, too. Thank you to my mama, Mary Ann, and my sister Amy for helping support our family, which has indirectly supported this cause for our dad and your husband. You gave him great care, and you loved him so much.
When people see a pink ribbon, they know it means breast cancer. We want people to think cholangio when they see a green ribbon. We know everyone in this room is going to be affected by cholangio forever. We are two of these people. Everyone will go through their own experiences, will process the diagnosis, treatment, and grieving differently and in their own way. Our way of dealing with caregiving and grieving was putting hope into action.
We want to continue to give others hope from our own experiences and know the power of awareness and research is fighting for your loved ones for a different outcome than what we had. We have experienced a tremendous amount of dedication and compassion from everyone involved in this foundation. Being a caregiver was the most difficult responsibility that we have ever had to endure. And we wouldn't change who we have met along the way or the things that we have done. But the one thing that we would change was the outcome for our parents. But it was an honor for us to care for our parents. The unexpected experiences, support, and love brings goodness into grief. Thank you all.
Thank you.